Okay, I call this Fairmont City Council meeting for Tuesday, July 24th, 2018 to order. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Moran. Here. Councilmember Gann.
Here.
Councilmember Harger.
Here.
Councilmember Merrifield.
Here.
Mayor Manella.
Here.
Councilmember Warner.
Present.
Councilmember Bell.
Here.
Councilmember Mason.
Here.
Councilmember Straight.
Here.
Our opening ceremonies this evening will be, the prayer will be led by Reverend Howard Brooks from Morning Star Baptist Church, and the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Councilmember Merrifield. Would you all please stand?
Let's bow our heads. Eternal Father, I come to you as humbly as I know how to thank you for this wonderful day that you have made, and we shall rejoice and be glad in it. Lord, I ask that you continue to bless the City Council with the wisdom and the knowledge that is needed to continue to run this great city of Fairmont. Bless all leaders within this state and across our nation, that West Virginia and our country will remain blessed and under your care. Let this meeting and others to come be productive in moving the city of Fairmont in a way that is pleasing to you and to the people. Lord, whatever I may have failed and asked, please don't fail and grant it. It is in your humble, precious, and holy name we do pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Reverend Brooks. Thank you, Brad. You all received minutes from our July 10th meeting on your tablets, and I assume you've had time to go over those minutes, so we would entertain a motion to accept those minutes.
Second.
Y'all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, minutes. We have one public hearing this evening. I declare the public hearing open. Would the clerk please read the ordinance by title?
An ordinance amending and supplementing the provisions of Part 1 Administrative Code, Chapter 5, Officers and Departments, Article 131, Police Department, Section .06, Rules and Regulations of the Fairmont City Code, to eliminate the requirement that the rules and regulations governing the police department and its members must be approved by council.
Okay, as I said, the public hearing is open. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of this ordinance? Chief Shine.
Steve Shine, Fairmont Police Chief, here to speak in favor of the ordinance. I know that I've sent out a couple of massive emails with several attachments, including our current policy that we're operating under, as well as everything that we've adopted to circumvent the certain approval of policy, particularly whenever it comes down from court rulings or legislative updates that need enacted immediately. I know that the process to approve policy right now is going to take at least 2 to 3 weeks. We don't have that luxury with some of it. Also, in addition to that, is what I referenced multiple times, the monumental task is to try to add to or change policy in the format that it is now. It's a numerical format, it's outdated, things need added, changed, deleted, modified as we go. To do that with the current policy and give it to you in the format that would, so that it can be introduced, is just going to be crazy. It'll take several updates. I'm trying to do it all at once so that I can give you something that you can read and understand and comprehend. But I haven't managed to do that in 2.5 years, and that's my fault. It would be a lot easier to start over, like I said, in the emails that I sent out with the paginated version that's accepted by the IACP, the International Association of Chiefs of Police, also our insurance company, Travelers Insurance Company. They use that paginated policy model in Clarksburg, Morgantown, Charleston, and other states, and that's where I got the format for several of the sample policies or special directives, initiatives, memos that I've sent out that have amended where our current policy is. There's just several things that need to be expanded on, changed, brought up to the times. It's very hard to do with council approval. In addition to that, there's certain things that probably shouldn't be introduced to council or put on some public agenda, specifically in regards to investigative procedures, also hold-up alarms, panic alarm response, things like that. These things get updated constantly. I can ask you guys, there's probably at least 2 to 3 things a month that I send out that affects our current operating policy. And those aren't just changes that I make, those are changes dependent on things that are in our policy now that are now out of our control. Hold up, panic alarm response is dictated by 911. How they call in, how they get information from the banks, everything like that is not for public release. It shouldn't be for public release. It shouldn't be discussed in a forum. But it's how we operate. We don't operate under the policy that you received that's in our 93-page pamphlet. Firearms policy. If you read through our firearms policy in the policy manual, it's less than a page and a half long. Our actual policy, the actual way that we train people with firearms is over a 100-page document. That includes patrol rifle training, that includes pistol training. Incorporated with that is use of force. So it's not just something that, it needs to be a living document. It's hard to make it a living document whenever it's brought up for council approval. Every time that there's a legislative report change that dictates how we get changed. The most recent I can remember was 2016. There was a 4th Circuit Court of Appeals ruling that affected the way that we use electronic control devices, or tasers, or tasers. We had to immediately change our policy and how the standard operating procedures that we operate under to come into compliance with that court ruling. So I'm open for any questions or concerns. I hope that a lot of the information and emails I put out show that it's just a monumental undertaking, that I'm not trying to usurp authority, that I'm just trying to bring our department into the same manner of approval as every other department within the city. I mean, even like I explained, the crazy part is that the city manager can make policy, give it down to us, and basically unless it's written into our policy and approved by council, it's not really rules and regulations or official police policy. I understand your concern with the fact that you may be getting some of your authority removed, or that may be the perception that you have. But I assure you that if the city manager is happy with what I do, he can fire me, and if you're not happy with him, you can fire him. So that's your recourse, and that's how you can change it. If I start to adopt things that are crazy, I shouldn't be in the job every day. I'm taking 36 other people's lives in my hands. I'm trying to deal with that. I'm just trying to make sure that what we do is a proper accepted police procedure, that it's based on good case law, that's based on legislation that's already been enacted. If you pass a law, I need to make sure that we come into compliance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor and Council, Robin Gomez, City Manager. As has been communicated to all of you through the various emails, including the multitude of information that you've received from the police chief, this request, as has been stated, is for some reason the only department that has this provision in our code of ordinances. The city's charter provides and directs under the council manager form of government that we currently live under, that the administrative executive powers are delegated to the city manager, which includes the oversight of all the, essentially the 9 departments that, the services that we provide. Again, as I stated, this is the only department that has this requirement. This, as the chief stated, by no way making the process in reality any different than it currently is, with the exception that any act or any change, any policy, any procedure does need to come in front of you. In the 31 and a half months that I've been here, we have not done that as the chief stated and for the reasons that the chief stated. Just also to add to that, under our city code, this section 131.06 falls under the administrative regulations of Part 1, our administrative code. and there's specifically the section that identifies officers and departments, which is Chapter 5 of our administrative code. And the departments that are listed are City Manager, Police Department, Fire Department, Public Works, Department of Finance, City Attorney, and Treasurer. In reviewing all of those articles, the only relevant language in all of those articles, relates to the police department. There's little to any language that actually stipulates what processes, procedures, what work the manager, our fire department, our public works, our finance, our attorney, and our treasurer will do. Actually, the section under treasurer was repealed. The 4 of the other 6 sections make reference to other sections of the code. There is no language in there. So to reiterate, as we have provided to you, this is a section that I'm not exactly sure, reading back through, as to what the reason was to continue this in the council manager form of government, other than when the council manager was adopted, there was a belief, for whatever variety of reasons, that the council still needed to have some oversight over the police department. I'm not completely opposed to that, but I would strongly encourage the adoption to make this change. One, to bring the police department similar to the other departments in the city, as well as, in reality, to conform to our charter, where the administrative executive powers are delegated to the manager. As the chief stated, we will continue to provide the exceptional police services as we have. We'll continue to do everything we have. The council still receives all the information. They still have oversight over myself. If there is something that is not happy, as the chief stated, there is the process whereby the manager can be removed, or I can, even before that, can take steps to correct anything with the chief of police. So that's really the basis for the request for the ordinance. And again, the chief and I'd be happy to, or Kevin, to answer any questions pertaining as we proceed with the item. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else here to speak in favor of this ordinance?
Yeah, I'd like to say just a couple words, Tom, if that's okay. I'm a firm believer in letting people do their jobs and giving them the tools to do them. And unless they give you a reason not to trust them. And that's not happened in my experience anyway in the last few years. And with the amount of trust that we already put in the police department, you know, we're already all in. So having a technicality that just makes it more cumbersome to get your paperwork done doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So, and like the chief said, and it's true, that if things go sideways, then the council still just needs 5 votes to reverse everything and take it back to whatever it needs to be taken back to, which I don't foresee happening at all. So that's my 2 cents.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else to speak in favor of this ordinance?
Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Eric Hudson. I'm the afternoon shift sergeant. I'm the supervisor on duty right now. I'm also the secretary for FOP Lodge 69. Have been for about 8 or 9 years now. I just wanted to bring it to y'all's attention that the FOP does unanimously support the chief in this endeavor, and to reiterate what the council member just said, this is just a streamlining of what needs to be done. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Anyone else to speak in favor of the ordinance? Anyone to speak in opposition?
Richard Bowyer, 9057 7th Street, Fairmont. I came largely because I've had at least 2 members of council call me and ask for some background and for my thinking on this. I believe, I may be mistaken in one instance, I think I'm the only living survivor of the original charter board. I believe all the other members of the board are now deceased. I do want to say that whatever I say, there's nobody living now who can challenge me on it. But I want to make clear that what I'm about to point out is largely my own point of view, and I don't want to hold historic charter board. Except to say that we spent several months in the process of developing this extensive city charter. We brought in consultants. We had one or more model city charters from other cities that had adopted this form of government. We had an expert in public administration from the WVU who was an ongoing consultant with us regularly, and we had legal counsel as we proceeded through this. And while there were 2 or 3 issues that were fairly hotly or at least lengthily debated, such as the redistricting or the establishing of districts and whether or not we would have a partisan or nonpartisan election, we didn't just adopt things just because they were in some model someplace. We spent time discussing all of these issues. I cannot honestly tell you how much, what, and what length we discussed this particular aspect. My own concerns about this are the fact that we are certainly a representative form of government in this country, and you as council members are the representatives directly of the public. The police department and the work of the police department is the most directly affects the public, more so than most, perhaps any, but most other aspects of city government and business. And so I'm inclined to feel that the ownership and the accountability then belongs to the people. And the council, as the elected representatives, are the direct representatives of the public. And to place the matter in the hands of an employee, the city manager and his appointee, removes that immediate direct relationship between the public to their elected representatives. And I think also in today's environment around the country, and thank God, and it's certainly not our case in our city at all, and hopefully never, to maintain the council's responsibility, however, and obligation in this, in some sense protects the city manager. For example, if a crisis were to occur, as it has in several places around the country, if you adopt this proposal, the only access that the public would have to address that policy that might be offending or offensive to some would be to press the council to remove the city manager. If you don't change it and keep it as it is, it would allow the council simply to make the change that was most directly affecting the issue that was concerned. I'm not passionate about this. I understand, as the chief and the sergeant have indicated, and the city manager has pointed out, the tremendous, complicated legal and administrative burdens of doing it this way. But I'm inclined to feel, and I think there's a lot of people who would, if they thought about it, would think that the direct accountability to the public for the one aspect of city government that has the most direct impact in relationship and interaction with the public is important to maintain. So that's my thoughts on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak in opposition to this ordinance?
I talked to several people about this ordinance because I didn't know exactly how I felt about it, and I still don't know. I think we have an excellent police chief. I think we have excellent policemen. I'm not concerned about now. I'm concerned with things that have happened in the past and could happen very easily in the future. I feel this is the one area of government that still should be contained with the city council. I think we need to know exactly what is happening with each area of the problems that we have within our city and within the local county, where we need to put our monies, where we need to put our emphasis. And I feel that people will feel more comfortable if they can come to a council member instead of having to go directly to one person to make these decisions. And I think the police department is entirely different than the fire department or the water department or any other departments in this manner. And I think this is just going a little bit fast. I'd rather see some sort of a plan that was completely drawn out instead of completely relinquishing all power now.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else to speak in opposition to this ordinance? I'll declare the public hearing closed. Before we get into the announcements, I have a couple of proclamations that I need to present. Chief, would you like to come back up?
Thomas, you could use the mic. Thank you very, very much.
Whereas the National Association of Town Watch is sponsoring a unique nationwide crime, drug, and violence prevention program on August 7, 2018, entitled National Night Out. And whereas the 35th Annual National Night Out provides a unique opportunity for the City of Fairmont to join forces with thousands of other communities across the country in promoting cooperative police community crime prevention efforts. And whereas the City of Fairmont plays a vital role in assisting the Fairmont Police Department through joint crime, drug, and violence prevention efforts in the City of Fairmont, and is supporting National Night Out 2018 locally. And whereas it is essential that all citizens of the City of Fairmont be aware of the importance of crime prevention programs and impact that their participation can have on reducing crime, drugs, and violence in the City of Fairmont. And whereas police community partnerships, neighborhood safety, awareness, and cooperation are important themes of the National Night Out program. Now therefore, I, Thomas Manella, Mayor of the City of Fairmont, do hereby proclaim Tuesday, August 7th, 2018, as 35th Annual National Night Out in the City of Fairmont, and call upon all citizens of the City of Fairmont to join the Fairmont Police Department and the National Association of Town Watch in supporting the 35th Annual National Night Out on August 7th, 2018. Thank you. Some of us are going to be at Municipal League that night, so we won't be here to help you celebrate. There should be enough left. Thank you.
Thank you
very much. Thank you. We have another proclamation. Julie, would you like to come?
Sure.
Come forward. And
Guys, come on, Rick and Gia.
Gia Deasy and Rick Garcia and Julie Soul. And what's your name? Lucy. All right. Whereas the Disability Action Center, formerly known as the ARC of Marion County, has been providing programs and services for children, adults, and their families since 1958. And whereas the founding chapter of the ARC, Association of Retarded Citizens of Marion County, West Virginia, was comprised primarily of parents of children and adult children with mental retardation. The group lobbied for better educational and vocational opportunities for all people with mental retardation or developmental disabilities. And whereas, as society progressed and the term mental retardation took on a negative connotation, the Association of Retarded Citizens changed their name to simply the ARC. The mission and the goal of the ARC was always to further the lives and opportunities of people with developmental disabilities. And whereas in 2008, the ARC of Marion County, West Virginia, took a step further by incorporating and changing their name and mission to a more positive and proactive organization, the Disability Action Center. And whereas DAC mission, the Disability Action Center, is dedicated to changing lives by providing individuals with disabilities, primarily developmental disabilities, and their families with the support, knowledge, and resources they need to reach their greatest level of independence. And whereas DAC core services include career readiness, experience at co-op, education and training, health and wellness, life skills and independent living, social and recreational exercise and fitness, self-advocacy, and information and referral. And whereas the Disability Action Center has become a comprehensive education, training, and enrichment center for individuals with disabilities and their families, a place for individuals of all abilities to learn, train, work, recreate, advocate, and be supported in setting and reaching life's goals. And whereas the DAC is a United Way agency governed by a volunteer board of directors, the center is funded by membership and support of the community through grants, fundraisers, and donations. The DAC currently serves over 450 children and adults with disabilities and their families in Marion County and north central West Virginia. And whereas the DAC is celebrating 60 years of service to the community on August 4th, 2018, with an open house and a 60th anniversary celebration. Now therefore, I, Thomas Manella, Mayor of the City of Fairmont, do hereby proclaim Saturday, August 4th, 2018, as Disability Action Center Day and commend DAC on their 60th anniversary celebration. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for what you do. Thank you very much. Okay, all right, okay, thank you, thanks. Okay, announcements. We'll start with Mary Ann.
All right. Council members, tonight I put these packets at your seats from the Convention and Visitors Bureau. In there is the new visitor's guide as well as some other marketing materials. And I was asked to remind you that Thursday morning at 9 a.m. at the Visitor Center, they'll be unveiling their new brand. And to make sure you all knew you were invited. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor? Councilman Harger?
No, sir. No one knows.
Councilman Merrifield?
Not tonight.
Councilman Stray?
Other than to commend Julie on a job well done, I don't think I'm going to be able to attend, and I apologize, but I had other things that I had to do with the family. But thank you very much for what you do.
Thank you, Ronnie.
Councilman Mason?
I thank you. I will echo what Councilmember Strait says in appreciation for DAC. It's a wonderful organization, and they provide a wonderful service to the citizens of Marion County and Fairmont. And related to that, not really related to that, but it hasn't been discussed much, there was a traffic count on Benoni Avenue, I think in June. And the average daily business day count was 449, which is, I consider, fairly significant, particularly considering the condition of the roadway and a lot of people on vacation, and Fairmont State was out of session. I think there's another one. 449 is pretty significant for business day traffic on that road. I think there's another count planned for sometime in August 27, I believe, for a week or so, maybe two, I don't know. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Grubb?
I have nothing to say except to say what my other councilman, that Julie does an excellent job, and it deserves it, as well as our chief of police.
Councilmember Warner?
I just echo everything that they say to both Julie and Chief Shine. I appreciate both of their work.
I have no announcements. as far as citizens petitions go, we have two. Reverend Burrier, do you still want to speak under citizens petitions?
No, that was.
Okay, all right, so we just have one then. Reverend Dee Mann, come up to the podium, state your name, your address, and you have 5 minutes to speak to council.
Pretty strong.
Please use the mic.
Dee Mann, 3 Park Drive, Fairmont. I want to mention 2 things to you about Channel 19 that you will find helpful, and hopefully I will encourage your action a little bit. As you know, this day, Spectrum moved to all digital if you are on the cable. You know that TV 19 was removed from Channel 19. It's now on Channel 561. And I am not sure that that's on the basic tier. 6 calls to Spectrum today, they could not tell me for sure whether that was the case or not. Channel 18 has been removed completely. That's the other local channel in Clarksburg. It's been placed on Channel 560. The revolving bulletin board is completely gone. Channel 17 is also completely gone. My concern, based on those kinds of action, is that Spectrum is supposed to be involved deeply within the community, but it seems like this action has removed them from community concern. Also, Channel 19 is not listed anywhere on the lineup. It's not listed on their website. It's not listed on their phone calls to them. Neither is Channel 18, and that's our sister station. And I was never, asked or called or consulted about this move, and that upsets me extremely, because a lot of people do watch Channel 19. And so consequently, I'm not even sure the 561 is still on the basic channel. I would like to ask you to consider authorizing the city manager, although City Manager Gomez has said he would already do it, to call or write and inquire about trying to get Channel 19 back on Channel 19. They placed it on the Golf Channel, on that channel now, and when I initially got the lineup, it had a Univision program on 19 and nothing for 18. So I'm very concerned about how Spectrum is handling their community affairs. They do not list us anywhere as local community programming. And according to FCC regulations, any town or city that has a franchise with a cable company, that cable company has to authorize and provide a local channel, at least one. Sometimes towns provide 2 or 3 for local programming. So hopefully you'll consider that, and perhaps even write a letter or call yourself, although today when I finally reached somebody after about 7 calls, they said, well, that department doesn't talk to anybody. And I was very concerned about that. So I think that you deserve better, because the funds that you give me go to help provide local public television. The second thing I wanted to mention is this handwriting was on the wall as much as 4 years ago when Spectrum did this in Washington, D.C. So it's not uncommon, but I thought maybe we could avoid that. So I have tried to up my website to bring in, with the monies that you give me, a new Telview player. And this Telview player will show TV 19 programming if I ever get that back and running. But also it will give you video on demand. I've never had the website on TV 19 that provides a video on demand, but you have it now. For example, the other day, I went and talked to Julie about the 60th anniversary, and I taped it and I put it on the video on demand, and you can watch it there, including the highlights of the first dedication back in 2000. And it's kind of exciting to watch all that and see how it happened. And so I thank you for the funds that you give me for that. So those are my 2 concerns. My first concern is that you perhaps consider contacting Spectrum. And the second is I will be uploading from time to time city council meetings on this Telview channel, which you can get on Facebook TV 19, and then you can just bookmark it, and it will go to right away. The website's kind of long, but you can get it through TV19 Facebook. So thank you very much.
Will you, for those of us who are on your email list, send instructions of how to go to that video on demand?
Sure.
Now, that has nothing to do with Facebook, right? Because I don't do
No.
Facebook.
Yeah,
and
I can get you that website directly without going to Facebook. Yeah.
I'm sure I'm not the only one, but people who aren't on Facebook would like to have that. Because I have Dish and I don't have Spectrum, but I would like to watch
That's
that.
the other thing that irks me, and I don't think that we can do anything about that. I kind of mentioned it to Kevin, but it is so unfortunate that Spectrum, which runs cable wires throughout Fairmont, has to have a franchise agreement and pay the city a certain amount of money. But all these wireless networks like Dish, they can come in and swarm Fairmont all over the place, and there's no way to capture money from them for capturing Fairmont's audience. And I'd like to see something happen about that. I talked this past week to folks, and because it's wireless, it would be an invasion of private property.
The state of West Virginia would have to create legislation, adopt in their code a different type of tax structure where it would promote what I would call equality, exactly to what you just said, which has not occurred throughout the entire country. Absolutely. In my previous life in a galaxy far, far away a long time ago, where I resided, that's what the state did. They combined and created what's called the communication services tax that created parity and equality so that satellite companies would pay their fair share. We will bring that up to our legislative delegation and encourage something along those lines, so long as, because the problem that it created was it was generated to be revenue neutral. And guess what happened? What ended up happening is the state, I probably shouldn't say it, but it was not revenue neutral in the end to local governments. But you are exactly correct. There are many states that have not caught up to that and ensured that all communication services, even beyond video, which is television, should be on the same quote-unquote playing surface, and it hasn't happened, but we will address it with our delegation.
My question is, with the material that you have, would it be beneficial to make that public utilities complaint in their format about what you've discussed here against Spectrum?
They are not governed by like a utility. They are not under the jurisdiction or oversight of for example, the Public Service Commission. Their oversight is, as Dee Dee Mann said, through the FCC, Federal Communications Commission, and then governed under the franchise agreement that the city of Fairmont, like thousands of other cities throughout the country, have adopted to stipulate what they will do, how they will do it. But it is rather limited as to what it provides. But that agreement does require that the company, and by the way, Spectrum is not the only cable provider within our corporate limits, although they are the largest one. We have Comcast that provides in a small part of the city. There is no overlay of the two companies. They have their own territory, so to say, within our corporate limits, but it's limited as to what that agreement requires. But it does require that they must provide at least one public educational governmental access channel, which unfortunately, years ago when this occurred where I resided before, it was a disaster, for lack of a better term, in terms of how the public sees where the channels now are. Even when I just pulled up my account and went to the channel lineup, it is not what I was watching at 5:15, showing my wife how the new cable box works now. So the channels are not where they stated that completely where they would be. So they go through these adjustments. Unfortunately, it takes a little bit of time. Currently, Channel 5, I believe it's 560, is carrying some public educational governmental access programming, but 561 says due to 561 is supposed to be now Channel 19 has on the screen. Due to technical difficulties, there is no programming currently. I will speak with Spectrum tomorrow and get this resolved as quickly as we can, because they are bound by our franchise agreement, which is an ordinance that they do correct this as quickly as possible.
Mayor, would it be helpful, with the assistance from Reverend Mann, to develop a resolution from council expressing our displeasure at the placement and treatment of our community channel?
I think after we give them a chance to fix it, and if they don't fix it, that might be proper, but let's give them a chance. You have somebody who will talk to you at Spectrum, I assume?
Hopefully.
Yeah, well, I mean, you talk to them.
Yes.
Yeah, well, hopefully they can.
Save that bullet for the chamber after, yeah.
I got good stuff running for you all.
All right, thanks. City Manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. As I've commented in the last couple of meetings, this change with Spectrum is unfortunately does run into just some snafus that need to correct. We will make sure that they do that. And for specifically that channel 561 is on the standard package, which I believe it is, but we will confirm that that's the case.
There's no listening anywhere.
No, that's, as I stated earlier, it's just a little bit of a challenge. On the positive side, we now do have 2 Spanish channels for anybody. Channel 975 is the one that Didi mentioned, Univision, so now I feel like my Spanish has returned a little bit. Sorry, just to digress to that.
I was afraid that would happen.
See, we're also waiting, as I've advised council, for a start date for our paving, our milling and our paving. We're hopeful that will begin within the next 2 weeks. We are looking to begin with the milling on Morgantown Avenue and Heyman Street. So we'll please be on the lookout for that. We will provide ample notice to the residents on those streets, hopefully with as much as a week out, so that they're aware that those roads will be milled, followed by Mary Lou Retton Drive and other less trafficked roads, but we're hoping that starts in the next 2 weeks. The good news is that it should be completed just within probably about a month. The company is very, very quick, so we're hoping that happens sooner rather than later. As was stated tonight, congratulations to the Disability Action Center for their 60th anniversary, and hopefully everybody can stop by there on Saturday, August the 4th from 9 until 1, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. for their open house. Also, Tuesday, August 7th, our National Night Out will take place at Veterans Square from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. There'll be business and nonprofit vendors. There'll be free giveaways of little goodies you can take home. There'll be free food. And certainly the highlight of the evening is meeting and getting to know a little bit better our police department, from our chief to down, hopefully a couple of lieutenants, or at least one will be there, to sergeants, to certainly a lot of our police officers, detectives, and we encourage everybody to come out. The purpose of that is to continue to develop those positive working relationships with our police department. They are the ones that are visually, physically on our streets, in our neighborhoods, 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. They do a fantastic job here in Fairmont. Their professionalism, their dedication, their commitment is truly, truly exceptional. And we're extremely fortunate to have them here. Chief Shine is as dedicated as an employee as I've ever seen. About the only thing I haven't seen him is actually yell at me, which is kind of interesting because I do recall him. He'll do it, Sergeant Hustle. So we encourage everybody, please come out to Veterans Square Tuesday, August the 7th. And again, if there are ever any questions regarding any most police activity, any concerns, please let us know, let the chief know, let an officer know. Of course, if there's ever an emergency, you see a suspicious person, suspicious activity, please don't hesitate to call 911. For some reason, there is a hesitancy to do that. That's why we encourage people to come out to National Night Out so they can learn a lot more about our police work here in Fairmont. Also, thank you to Marion County Parks and Recreation Commission for their continued events, activities at the park. Commissioner Garcia, thank you for the continued support for the county. There are some fabulous events that have been taking place and will continue throughout the rest of the summer. This coming Saturday, it's Eagle Mania, tribute to the Eagles music. The following Saturday, after we're at the Disability Action Center, there will be a water ski show on the river. So I think beginning around 2 p.m. or thereabouts. We'll confirm the time, but continue to come out to Palatine Park. Also, as I stated at our last meeting, from beginning Tuesday, August 7th through the 10th, myself, Janet Keller, and then the mayor, the deputy mayor, I think Councilwoman Moran, and Councilman Straight will be at the West Virginia Municipal League meetings in Morgantown for those few days.
You were going to mention the cleanup at the DAC.
Speaking of the, thank you, Councilman. Speaking of the Disability Action Center, also a thank you to Public Works. We did have a rather large, another dump site. I believe we're up to about 13 or 14. These are unfortunately areas where either over time or over a few weeks, a sizable amount of trash, from tires to shopping carts to just complete trash bags, again, full of trash, are dumped in wooded or secluded areas within our city. And there was one behind the Disability Action Center that was completely removed earlier today. So
Thank you.
It looks significantly better, and please let us know of others, anybody that can hear my voice or will watch this programming. We are completely committed to keeping a clean city, even if I have to drive around and do it, because you just can't have trash and debris around. I think I'm up to about 145 tires that I've picked up and about 78 shopping carts. I hear if I hit 100 shopping carts, I'm allowed to stay. Also related to keeping a clean city and in our continued efforts to alleviate blight, occasionally private property owners, as I've stated before, continue to improve their property. And we've had a gentleman who acquired a few parcels of property along Locust Avenue near 4th Street, and Friday we were advised that a small single-family structure was to be demolished. To our surprise, it was demolished between yesterday afternoon at 2 p.m. and this morning by 9 a.m. the structure was gone, and it was a structure that had some tenants or residents that were not keeping their property up, and although they moved away a few months ago, or moved out of the property is now, we're still trying to find out what the gentleman that bought the property is intending to do the property, but it certainly does look better than it did before, so we're very appreciative of that. And lastly, just wanted to advise council, we did receive for fiscal year 2018, our fourth and final sales tax revenue proceeds from the state. We did receive for sales primarily from April through May, $521,342.32, which brought the entire year's total of the 1% sales tax proceeds to $1,932,988.69, or nearly $400,000 above our budget, which speaks very well to our continuing economic growth within the city, and particularly in our retail sectors and those sales that are subject to sales tax. Of course, the 6% plus the 1% that comes back to the city. And again, the majority of that funding goes to help fund our police and our fire pensions. So that's significant, several $100,000 that are will be allocated to our police and fire pensions going forward. And we hope that that trend continues throughout fiscal 19, particularly since this is one of those years where Thanksgiving happens on November 22nd, the earliest that it can happen on the calendar, which provides for essentially an additional weekend of Christmas or holiday shopping. So there are 5 full weekends between Thanksgiving weekend and Christmas, so we encourage people to go out and shop local. Remember to please help us shop here in Fairmont. Mayor, that's all I have.
Mayor, I have a big personality poster in my downstairs family room. This was years before you came here, and you've probably never heard this, but it's a poster of A. James Manchin. And he says, "Let us purge our proud peaks of these jumbled jungles of junkery." Well, if you keep up, I'm going to get a picture of you and put it in his place. Because you can say the same thing.
Maybe with different verbiage, I don't know. But Mayor, I haven't seen a list of the most recent demolition bid. Have we received?
We have not finalized that. We're in the process right now of having the structures tested for asbestos, which impacts the bid, when we issue the bid, we have to include the reports under, I believe, West Virginia Department of Environmental Protection laws. So we're hoping to have that concluded, but perhaps by the end of this week, if not next week, and then the bid will be issued, hopefully with no later than the first week of August.
I wasn't sure whether I missed it. So
No, we haven't provided that yet, but it will include as an addendum to the bid, it will include the abutment on the entrance to Palatine.
No, you mean the ugly wall?
Ugly wall.
Yeah.
Okay. Consideration of council business. We have 4 items. Item number 1 is the adoption of an ordinance. Is there a motion to adopt the ordinance?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Would the clerk please read the ordinance by title?
An ordinance amending and supplementing the provisions of Part 1 Administrative Code, Chapter 5, Officers and Departments, Article 131, Police Department, Section 06, Rules and Regulations of the Fairmont City Code to eliminate the requirement that the rules and regulations governing the police department and its members must be approved by council.
Is there any discussion on this ordinance before we vote?
Mayor, I'd like to make a comment. My position on the ordinance to remove approval of police rules and regulations from authority of council has not changed. I will vote no on this ordinance. I today spoke with a member of the Charter Board, no secret who that is, since he's the only surviving member of that board, whose work ultimately resulted in the creation of the city manager form of government for Fairmont that we have today. He indicated the board enjoyed the benefit of advice from citizens, consultants, and legal counsel. The decision to have police rules and guidelines authority retained by council was a conscious decision. It was not an oversight. The very nature of police work, in my opinion, dictates citizens' participation and ownership of police rules, regulations, and guidelines. This is accomplished through actions of duly elected members of council, the representatives of Fairmont citizens. I agree with the position of the original Charter Board. Council as citizen representatives should assure citizen participation and ownership of police rules through authority of council. That authority should not rest solely with the city manager and police leadership, in my opinion. Further, in reference to the eloquent Lakota prayer presented at the recent council meeting, we, council, should make decisions with consideration of their impact, quote, 4 generations, unquote, into the future. We might not be so fortunate to have such marvelous city manager and police leadership down the road as we have today. It is far easier to give away authority than to take it back. I will vote no on this ordinance.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion?
Yes, I'd like to add that I'm more in agreement with Chief Shine that the law enforcement community is a fast-paced, evolving, changing community, and the need to act on legislation, precedents, or other things in that environment is present. Failure to do so could be detrimental to the community and to the individual citizens, or just have an overall negative impact if he has to delay his actions or his administration for our processes at City Council. And we have pointed out that the city manager answers to the council and I have found him to be nothing but responsive to the council and to the individual members of the council. So I feel that can be acted upon. The law enforcement community does have things that are not for public release for the protection of the public that's involved in these matters. And the police department needs to be able to act without that type of exposure. I will be voting yes on that.
Anyone else?
Yeah. I'd like to remind everyone, too, that when the original document was written, we were living in a much different time. And the amount of problems and issues that the police today have to deal with, a lot of that used to be handled at home before it got to where the police had to deal with it. And the amount of adversity, you know, and people coming out against the police, I think is a very dangerous thing for our country and for our society. So if we're declaring, I will be voting yes to allow the police to do their job as they have been doing it and not make it cumbersome, knowing, like Councilman Harger said, that we, did I say that right? Harger, thank you. We still have the authority with a 5-4 vote to, you know, turn the ship around if it ever had to. I mean, we're not really giving up any authority, because I've been here 2 years and we haven't, to my recollection, I don't think we've passed a single thing, you know, that's come in front of us. So what is it we're giving up? So anyway,
if we have not passed anything, then why is it so cumbersome? Yes. To have,
I think he explained that.
To continue to bring things to council.
In his address, he explained.
Yeah, I believe he did too.
He did.
I believe he did.
Okay, Marianne.
I'll be voting no on this. I had asked Robin to give me some specific instances where the police chief or the police have been hindered by the current ordinance as is, and he said there wasn't any. So I just don't like to change things if it isn't broken. So to me, it isn't broken, and I will be voting no.
Anyone else? Would the clerk please call for a vote?
Mayor Manella?
Yes.
Councilmember Warner?
Yes.
Councilmember Harger?
Yes.
Councilmember Yan?
No.
Councilmember Straight?
Yes.
Councilmember Merrifield?
Yes.
Councilmember Mason?
No.
Councilmember Moran?
No.
Councilmember Grubb?
No.
I believe there were 5 votes for, 4 against, so the ordinance does pass. Item number 2 is the introduction, first reading, and to set a public hearing for an ordinance. Is there a motion to set the public hearing? Item number 2, which is to set a public hearing for an ordinance, dies for lack of a motion. Item number 3 is the adoption of a resolution. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution?
So move.
Second.
Would the clerk please read the resolution by title?
A resolution of the council for the city of Fairmont approving and adopting an amendment to the rules and regulations of the Police Civil Service Commission of the city of Fairmont, adopted by the commission on January 13th, 2000, and approved by council on February 22nd, 2000, to provide for amendments to Rule 4.04, Notice of Vacancy and Examination, and Rule 6.04, Competitive Process, to mirror the notice requirements of West Virginia Code subsection 8.14.13. By this proposed resolution, the Council for the City of Fairmont manifests its approval of certain amendments to Rule 4.04 and Rule 6.04 of the Rules and Regulations of the Police Civil Service Commission of the City of Fairmont. These proposed changes to said rules cause the notice requirements for competitive examinations to be consistent with the notice requirements found in West Virginia Code 8-14-13, which only requires notice of at least 1 week. These changes were approved by the Commission following a duly noticed meeting held July 9th, 2018.
Is there any discussion on this resolution? Would the clerk please call for a vote?
Councilmember Merrifield?
Yes.
Councilmember Moran?
Yes.
Councilmember Mason?
Yes.
Councilmember Grubb?
Yes.
Councilmember Warner?
Yes.
Councilmember Gann?
Yes.
Mayor Manella?
Yes.
Councilmember Harger?
Yes.
Councilmember Straight?
Yes.
Okay, the resolution passes unanimously. Our last item is the reappointment for a term, 3-year term, on the Historic Preservation Review Commission. Is there a nomination, a motion to nominate for this commission?
So moved.
It's a motion to nominate Tracy Evans.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there a second?
I second.
Will the clerk please call for a vote?
Yes, that.
Yes, Daddy.
Councilmember Straight?
Yes.
Councilmember Warner?
Yes.
Councilmember Gann?
Yes.
Councilmember Grubb?
Yes.
Councilmember Merrifield?
Yes.
Councilmember Harger?
Yes.
Councilmember Moran?
Yes.
Mayor Manella?
Yes.
Councilmember Mason?
Yes.
Okay, there's one more item.
Mayor, I move we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you all.